This is a profound parable. Imagine somebody laying on the side of the street's been robbed, and most of us naturally would feel compelled to help them. And imagine, though, thinking that this person at the side of the street actually is God lying there naked, God lying there needing the care and the love of the world. And to think that Jesus, who I think has a pretty incredible sense of humor, looks to his Jewish friends and comes up with the truth that the most despised people of all, the Samaritans, that there would actually be a good Samaritan. Samaria was a land that they didn't even want to walk on. They'd go the longer route because they didn't want to dare walk on the Samaritans that were half Jew, half Gentile, half breed. They were pagans. They were not of the Jews. And Jesus has quite a laugh on them today in this story when he reveals to them that although the holy priest, the Levite, and the religious, and the ones that supposedly know all the laws, they have no time to help the injured soul, who probably is God, laying by the road. Last week I was next door checking out our neighbors, and I said to Dave, how are you doing? And he said, I'm very happy. He said, somebody at Trinity's given us tickets. We're coming to the pulled pork. So I know that Steve's there, and Dave I talked to, and of course Jeff. They were just overjoyed that somebody at Trinity had given them a ticket. And I know the boys well enough that when I've invited them over here for coffee, they're just not really comfortable coming into a church. Never know what could happen in this place. But so the fact that he could just drive up and take it away was even more joyful to them, I could tell. But they were very grateful. I saw him a little later in the week. It was over by Tim's, and I stopped for a second. I said hi again. And then he came back to me, and he looked at me, and he said, thanks for taking a moment to say hi. I just rolled my window down. The people we least expect can often surprise us. And I said this at a funeral recently that had everybody really, I think, laughing, but recognizing the person that we were remembering was kind of reminded me of my own father, because my dad always had a funny story, always had some way of making light of life. And I said to them, and I say this to all of us today, the scariest person in the world to me is actually somebody without a sense of humor. Those are the scary religious people. I run for hell when I see people who can't laugh and they're religious, because you never know what they're thinking when they can't laugh at themselves and they can't laugh with each other. And I think God's having quite a laugh on the Jewish people who are the chosen ones, and yet it's the despised one that's coming to help God along the road. So I end with this. I recently... It's probably some of the hardest part of ministry. What I do is I met with a couple that had just dealing with the tragic death of their daughter. A healthy child, 6 months old, and dies, and still a mystery. And of course, God's heart is the first heart to break, and medical staff and parents going through something I can't even imagine. And I met with this dear couple, and I can say it quite honestly, when I met with Dad, the tattoos, Kendra heard this at the 9 o'clock service, the tattoos and the piercings, I was like going, wow. Of course, the most incredible human being and the most grief-stricken parent you could imagine. And I thought to myself, man, how the world judges somebody because they have tattoos or piercings or the size, whatever it is, all the outward appearances that we judge, right? And, of course, no judgment at all when he said to me, of course I'm an atheist. And I said, well, I have more people than you imagine in my life who are atheists, so don't fret about that. He goes, well, I'm not fretting about that. He goes, I just want you to understand where I'm coming from. And then he went a step further, which is the parable to me today. He said, I might be an atheist, but I have people in my family that really believe. And so as you're here to help us, might you just realize that, quite honestly, I'm okay. I'm doing the best I can. But I want want something to help others. And so, my friends, when I hear people at time of religious persuasion judging agnostics or those who are atheists, I think about this parable of the Good Samaritan, the one that you might least suspect will surprise you and overwhelm you with grace.